everyone, we are getting into our annotated bibliography unit. Now, an annotated bibliography is a great tool to help you evaluate your sources, and in many ways it can function as a mini rhetorical analysis. For your annotated bibliography that you're going to be creating, it will have several steps and several things that we're going to need. First, you will list the topic and the working thesis. Then you will find at least 5 sources that you will use in your research paper and create a citation as it will appear on the Works Cited page. Now, I want to stop right here and say that there is a chance that when you get into writing your research paper, you might realize that a source isn't really working out. Very much like with the rhetorical analysis. I said that if you discover that, oh, wow, this really isn't the best source I need for my paper, you can replace it. And for your research paper, if you want to use more than 5 sources, you are more than welcome to, but you need to have at least 5. If you have only 4 sources, that's going to cause you to lose a couple of points. So make sure you have those 5 sources. The citations will be listed in alphabetical order. And underneath each citation, you will write 1 to 2 paragraphs where you include a very brief summary or description of the source and defend why it can be used as a credible source based on rhetoric. Specifically, does it have ethos, pathos, and logos? Now, you don't have to necessarily use that terminology, and I'm going to go over an example of that in just a second and show you how you can discuss the ethos, pathos, and logos without specifically saying it contains ethos by or it contains pathos by. You don't necessarily have to do that. So we can simplify it a little bit and imply those. But I also want you to address specific things about the source, such as what kind of source it is, what kind of formatting does it have, are there any errors? Because that's really important, because if an article has a bunch of errors, it might not necessarily be as reliable as you think it is. And do you find it reliable? This is going to be formatted in MLA. So I do have a format template for an annotated bibliography. If you want to use it, you don't have to, but it might make your life just a little bit easier if you do. And this will also be listed in D2L for your viewing pleasure. So when you click on the link, it will lead you to a web page, and there'll be a little link that says to download the template. And I'm going to show that to you in the Zoom on Monday and Tuesday of this week. So, and I'm going to go over it briefly in this video, but I'm also going to go over it in depth in the Zoom and also with a student example in our Zoom this week. Now, I didn't want to have this due over spring break because I know a lot of you are probably traveling, and I know a lot of you have been super, super stressed out. So I don't want you to be worried about a major assignment due over your spring break. But it is due April 9th. The thing of it is, our semester is over that last week of April. So please, please, please do not fall behind on this, because if you don't get this one turned in on time and we're neck deep in the research paper, I'm just afraid that it might get swept under the rug and forgotten, and it's worth 100 points, which is 10% of your grade. So this is a really, really important assignment. I mean, even I'm going to open up the Dropbox for it this week. And so if you want to go ahead and complete this week and not have to worry about it over your spring break, go for it. And so that way you won't have it hanging over your head. But I totally get if you just are still looking for sources and still trying to figure out exactly what direction your research paper wants to go in. You have until April 9th, but please try to get this turned in as soon as possible. I know this semester has been a little bit wonky and crazy, and I know a lot of you are doing lots of activities and trying to get ready for graduation and all that other lovely stuff, but we really, really need to stay on top of assignments this last part of this semester, because once you fall behind, it's really, really hard to catch up. So an example, the template. So when you download the template, this is what it's going to look like. So all you have to do is in a Word format, it's in a Word document. And so all you have to do is just change out this stuff for your own information. So you can take the name and just delete it and then put in your own name. Make sure that you change this part up here. Don't leave it last name 1. Make sure you put in your own last name. I will deduct a point or 2 if you're not doing this correctly, because as we get further in the semester, I'm expecting, and we've been working with MLA formatting, and I've been telling you a lot about MLA formatting, I'm going to expect you to be using it correctly. So make sure that you're starting to get all of these little elements of MLA together. Now, you don't have to put the title right away, because with a annotated bibliography, you can format it like this. So mention the topic, just what is the topic of your paper, and then I want you to list your working thesis statement. It does not have to be a perfect thesis statement. I am not going to count off if it's not a perfect thesis statement. I might give a little bit of a few revision suggestions, but just know that if I've given some revision suggestions on this thesis statement, you didn't lose any points on it. This is just to kind of help the paper just, gel a little bit better, make that thesis statement gel a little bit better. So don't freak out if you see me making a lot of comments about your thesis statement. It's a work in progress and we're learning. You're not going to lose points for learning. But do make sure that you include a title. You can title it Annotated Bibliography. I am fine with that. You can title it Annotated Bibliography of my research paper, Annotated Bibliography of, what was the subject of this one again? Lightning Safety Tips. As long as it has a title, that's what I'm going to be looking for. Now, a few things I want you to make note of right here. So all of these sources, the author's last name comes first, just making sure that we all know that, but then it's listed in alphabetical order. So you have Cooper, then Hill, then Hall, then Mullen. So, but one thing I want you to make note of right here, and actually this should actually go before the other one. It's actually a mistake that they made in this example. And I want to make note of it because L comes before M, L, M, N. So this should actually be moved ahead of this Mullen Leslie. But lightning safety. So this particular article right here did not have an author. So they listed it by the title of the article, and that is 100% correct. They just put it in the wrong spot. So this might lose a point or two because it is not completely in alphabetical order, as L comes before M. So that's just something to make note of. So notice that the citation is written correctly, much like what we discussed in our Writing to Learn last week, and that we practiced quite a bit. They did not include the date accessed right here, which, as I said, that's fine if you leave it off. Some people prefer to have it, some people don't. You can or can't. Don't have to. But pay attention to, this is their paragraph that they wrote. And one of the things I want you to notice is how it is also indented over. The entire paragraph is indented over because this is the left flush. It's reverse indented, and then the paragraph lines up with that reverse indenting right there. And that's something that we'll go over in our Zoom meetings. Right now, we're just concentrating on the content of this particular article or this particular summary. So they kind of, the way this particular example goes is that they concentrated more on the content of the article. Now you can put a little bit more summary in it, and that's perfectly fine. And matter of fact, I would like for you to put just a little bit more summary in there, but it doesn't have to be a big, huge summary. Just a sentence or two that kind of lets me know what's going on in this article is what or whatever your source is what I'm going to be looking for. So they mentioned that it's an educational site with research information, tables, and charts. The links on the left side lead you to related links into research articles. Some of the research articles have been previously published in medical journals. Some of the articles contain bibliographies. The dates of the material on the site range from 1995 through 2003. The author is an MD employed by the University of Chicago, Illinois, University of Illinois, Chicago. I found no grammatical or spelling errors. The source seems credible, reliable, and objective. The layout of the site is uncluttered. There are no pop-up ads or advertisements. There's a contact us option with an address, email, and phone number. So this is basically kind of telling us what is on this particular source that they found. And they did actually address at least the ethos and logos of this particular article. And the way they did it is how they mentioned how the author is an MD employed by the University of Illinois, Chicago. We automatically kind of give that credibility and that ethos to someone who's in the medical field. It mentions how it has all these research articles that are also included in the article, which leads to both the ethos, the credibility, and then the logos is having that logical appeal. But also with the logos, how it talks about how there are no grammatical or spelling errors. That the layout of the site is uncluttered, because remember, logos also has to deal with organization, how well organized something is. And so in that way, they address both the ethos and the logos without specifically saying ethos and logos, because when we discuss those rhetorical appeals, we don't necessarily have to mention them by name. So you don't have to sit there and go, the ethos of the article is, and the pathos of the article is, and they didn't really mention the pathos in this. And I might have mentioned, if I were grading this, I might go, okay, well, what about that emotional appeal? You can just say there was no emotional appeal in this article, and that would have been fine. That's something that they kind of left off that they probably should have included. But these are things that you can include in an annotated bibliography that let the, professor who's reading it go, okay, yes, this is a good source. I think you can use this particular source in your research paper. And you've proved it by showing that this article doesn't have any errors, that it has, other sources within it that we can go back and check the information to make sure it's credible, is written by a person that we can trust. You don't have to necessarily include it. So this part right here, there is a contact us option with an address, email, and phone number. You can include something like that just to kind of let you know, hey, you can go back and double check this. So all of that's really, really good information to include in an annotated bibliography. And as I said, we will go over this a lot more in depth in the Zoom meeting. So I really, really hope that you attend them or you go back and watch the recording, because that's really what's going to help you create these annotated bibliographies correctly. I can't emphasize enough. I know a lot of you have kind of dropped off of attending the Zoom meetings and watching the videos because I can see the analytics. But guys, you have to participate. You have to make sure that you're watching these videos, paying attention to them, because they are showing you how to do these assignments and do them correctly. So please make sure that if you can attend the Zoom meeting, please make sure you go back and watch that recording, because it's really, really going to be helpful for both this assignment and your writing to learn this week. And as always, if you have any questions, just let me know.